For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mammoth Daily. It's our Wednesday Odd Man Rush episode. So we've got Doug Pleans, the radio voice of the Florida Panthers, joining us coming up in just a little bit. I'm Mike Fulta alongside Adrian Denny here, your Hockey Night in Utah radio crew. And as always, we encourage everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, to make sure you're subscribed to the team channel. And we wish the same on podcast as well. We've had great success, Adrian, migrating over to the big team page, and we want to keep that rolling. But we were rolling cars through the Chick-fil-A drive-through line yesterday at our Pay It Forward Day, Utah. A ton of fun, being generous with not our money, but with the Utah Mammoth, the SEG Foundation's money, paying it forward to some Chick-fil-A customers. There's a handsome guy if you're watching on YouTube. That's me, Sarah Merrifield, and Dom Moore at the drive-through window. And AD, I know you were at the gas station as well, paying for people's gas. I found out I am a terrible drive-through window attendant.
Really?
I almost got fired from a job I didn't have.
You barely lasted an hour working a drive-through at a Chick-fil-A?
I was having a great time, and I think everybody else was having a great time. But I think someone from Chick-fil-A corporate was getting emails or getting notifications that the line is moving slower than it should be, and they're not making their quota. Because there were workers next to us who are like, slaving away and working hard and putting all the food together, and they know what they're doing. They're professionals. And me and Tusky are there in the kitchen, just kind of in the way, like yakking it up with customers. Hey, how's it going? You ever been to a Mammoth game? And the workers are like, let's go. We've got some waffle fries that need to get to this car here.
Yeah, I was at the front counter doing counter service, and
I saw you.
It was a blast. We had a lot of kids from Taylorsville High come over, a lot of faculty from Taylorsville High. We were there during their lunch hour. High schools are something, Mike. The first lunch starts at like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So we had the lunch crowd at 10 a.m. and we didn't even start serving lunch until 10:30. It was all breakfast. So just a great experience with the kids at Taylorsville High. They were so appreciative and so grateful and so excited about the Mammoth. Met a lot of Mammoth fans and great kids, and we're happy to see them and meet them all. Faculty was all great as they came over. Kat, the principal's assistant at T-ville High, was just amazing and great to talk to her and catch up. So thanks to everybody that came by Chick-fil-A, especially those affiliated with Taylorsville High, because they were a lot of fun. But yeah, no stories, Mike. I think I graded pretty well. Just being friendly and telling people it's Pay It Forward Day. Lunch is on us. We'd appreciate it if you paid it forward to somebody else. And here's a gift card to maybe do that. So from Chick-fil-A, I went to Sinclair in West Jordan and paid it forward. Again, met a lot of great Mammoth fans. Derek, who's a listener of Mammoth Daily, Hockey Night in Utah, sees us on social media. He stopped by. It's great to talk with him. Spencer, who's a morning show producer at ABC4, who works like midnight to 8 a.m. Sunday through Thursday. He stopped by, had a fun time catching up and talking sports with him. So good times were had by all. Me, Kim Becker, and Nick Olchek with the Sinclair. And at Chick-fil-A, it's great to have Matt McConnell, Dom Moore, Sarah Merrifield joining us in Tusky.
I saw, people were fired up about Tusky. I saw Nick waving the sign outside the gas station. He wasn't exactly dancing, but he was he was doing his best, it looked like, to draw some business. We had a ton of business. People were flocking over to the Chick-fil-A, and once the word got out that this was on Utah's or the Mammoth dime, then we got a bunch of people who came over. Some guy was like, "Yeah, I've been to a Mammoth game. I just came because I heard I was at some other restaurant. I heard that there's like a free lunch over here, so I came by and grabbed the Chick-fil-A sandwich." So it was fun to meet everybody, fun to put on the Chick-fil-A uniform, not really, but pretend to be a Chick-fil-A worker for a little bit. And I dropped more my pleasures than I ever have in my life, as one does working at Chick-fil-A.
See, I probably would have been fired for that because I didn't say it once. So I've got my own diction and my own sayings and the way I talk. So I didn't do any of that. I did make one executive decision at the Chick-fil-A, Mike. A very nice woman came in, was buying some Christmas presents, and she just was buying gift cards. And she's like, I'm just buying gift cards, so I'll just pay for it. I was like, no, it's covered. It's on us. We're paying it forward. And they had to go get the manager and 3 or 4 other employees, but we made it happen. I said I might have outkicked my coverage here. And of course
I'll
not.
have $1,000 in gift cards,
Of
please.
course, it's Chick-fil-A. We pushed it right through thanks to the SEG Foundation.
Yeah, great day of generosity. But moving on to tonight's game, AD, and getting down to business against the champs. The Florida Panthers are in town, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Florida, another one of these teams that Utah has never beaten before. Mammoth were 0-1-1 against Florida last year. They lost at overtime down in Sunrise, and then it was a 4-1 win for the Panthers when they last came to Utah. It was actually a closer game than that. It was pretty tight
Yeah.
most of the way through.
Yeah, 2-1 in the third period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Adrian, this Florida team has struggled this season, especially relative to their recent success in the playoffs. But as we're going to hear from Doug Plegens in a little bit, this team has just been wrecked with injury. They're missing 2 of their best forwards in Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. And then as Doug listed off all the other injuries, I was like, I didn't even realize some of these guys were missing too. I mean, they've got 5 or 6 regulars from their cup run last year that are not in the lineup and haven't been for extended periods of time. So this group is a little bit above 500. They're still patching things together in a very competitive and tight Eastern Conference, but coming off a couple wins, this is a team that even when they're down, Adrian, is capable of beating anybody in this league, and even without some of their best players, they play that brand of hockey under Paul Maurice that has gotten them ready for Game 7.
Yeah, they've only played 10 of their 28 games on the road, Mike. So exact opposite of Utah, basically. They're 4-6 on the road. They had a really tough trip to start the year. Philly, Detroit, New Jersey, Buffalo. And that got them off to an 0-4 start, a 1-5 trip. So their record since then on the road, they've played 4 road games since October. So they've been at home a lot. This is a trip that's going to take them to Utah. It's going to take them to Colorado, Dallas, and Tampa Bay. So tough trip for the Florida Panthers. Yes, Mike, you're doing the map. You've got the magic marker out. As I told you, the trip that the Mammoth were just on that took them Dallas to St. Louis, San Jose to Anaheim to Vancouver to Calgary. If you would have drawn that on a map, you would have thought that a toddler took a magic marker and was scribbling on the map because it didn't make any sense. But that's kind of how it's gone. Florida for me is a team like Edmonton, like Dallas, like Vegas. No matter what their record is, what their last 10 is, they're always a challenge. They always pose a threat. And Mike, as I've been telling you, it continues to be validated. Everybody in the National Hockey League right now is in the same situation of back-to-backs every other night. You're seeing energy affecting a lot of stuff in terms of key moment situations, a play here, a play there, costing a team a game. It's not isolated to the Utah Mammoth. Not a lot of power plays, Um, it's the National Hockey League right
Yeah.
now. It's not been an oil painting, and for Florida, they've experienced that too.
Yeah, yeah, and this is kind of the best case example of that is how everybody's dealing with injuries, everybody's dealing with the schedule, and head coach Andre Cherney the other day at practice kind of shared with us off the record that you listen to the coaches talk in their pressers, and it sounds like everybody's coaching the same team, you know, and it's it's been tough for Florida, but again, they're coming off a couple wins. They beat Columbus on Saturday, and then the New York Islanders on Sunday back at home. They swept a doubleheader. Got a couple days of rest in between games. They last played on Sunday. They get out to Utah a little early and hang out in Park City for a bit. So they're kind of taking in the scene. This Florida team, they play a very predictable style of hockey. They're in your face, ton of shot volume, very good defensive team. But we've heard it from Paul Maurice, and it's a drum that's been beat several times by now. But what does Paul Maurice tell his teams in those audio clips you hear from the bench? Get after them hard right now so that in game 7 they have nothing left. And that's paraphrasing. He uses some more colorful language. And we heard it from Nate Schmidt too. Don't do anything that you wouldn't do in game 7. He learned that early during his tenure with the Panthers last season. But this is a team that plays playoff style hockey. Going back to Utah's last game against LA, another team that plays that playoff style because they've been there the last several years. Florida, the best team at defending the rush, like LA was one of the best teams in the NHL. Florida is the best team at defending the rush. That's an area where Utah, when the Mammoth are playing well, they're getting chances off the rush. They couldn't do that against LA. Only 3 chances off the rush against the Kings. The Panthers also defend the middle of the ice as well as anybody. Very similar to LA in that regard. They don't let you get to the interior. Utah is also elite defensively in both of those areas, but I think the toughest matchup for Utah is going to be offensively scoring and getting to those dangerous areas, getting chances off the rush against a Panthers team that, regardless of who's in the lineup, plays with that game 7 mentality.
Yeah, so excited to talk with Doug. And Mike, he's a broadcaster for another team in the NHL, but we've got some good stuff to talk to him about that I think the fans of Utah will want to hear about. We'll hear all about their trip to Park City, the extra couple days they're playing there. But Mike, what clicked for Florida? Because they had gone through adversity as an organization, from having the best record in the NHL to being a 500 team the next year, and all of a sudden going to the Stanley Cup final. So some great stuff to talk about with Doug, some organizational parallels, some stuff for Utah fans to watch out for, to listen for, and maybe as they hear Doug, it'll be a situation like, oh, that does make sense. I can see that happening in Utah. And then, Mike, third period, sometimes you just need to have a players only meeting, right? The fans on Mammoth Daily are Monday through Friday, folks, the day-to-dayers. They got me and you every day, Mike, but sometimes maybe it'd be good for them just to have a players only meeting and hear from a fellow day-to-dayer, Sometimes
Is this a mutiny we have on our hands here?
Sometimes the teacher says, all right, I'm out of here. You guys fix it. Sometimes the coach says, I'm done. You guys, this is your mess. You guys fix it. So third period, after we talk to Doug, we're going to turn things over to Rod. And Rod has some perspective, because you hear from me and Mike, and I know some days you're like, na 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 na. Okay. Well, we've got some good stuff from Rod that we think you'll enjoy. So we're off and running, Mike. It's a Wednesday. It's game day edition. Special guest coming up in the Odd Man Rush. You want to get to Doug?
Let's do it.
Time for the Odd Man Rush.
We are pleased to welcome in for our Wednesday Odd Man Rush another ECHL graduate, survivor, and the voice of the 2-time Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, Doug Pleans. Doug, thank you for joining us here. We're going to talk a little bit about the matchup tonight between Utah and Florida. But first, we want to know, because we're feeling festive this time of year, do you have a real or a fake Christmas tree? This has been a raging debate between Adrian and I. Is it even a Christmas tree? Is it a palm tree that you have to celebrate the holiday season?
We have a couple of artificial Christmas trees, and they're decorated beautifully. And I got to give credit to my wife Ashley on that one, because she kind of spearheaded that operation. But I'm not opposed to real trees. We had a couple of artificial trees, and they look great. I grew up with artificial trees. And oddly enough, growing up in Michigan, I feel like maybe the artificial, it seems like maybe that was a place where you could have used a real tree, because it's, a cold weather climate, things like that. But I'm a big fan of the artificial tree personally, I must say. Always have been.
Doug, did you not, when you were in Boise with the Steelheads and in the suburb of Lakewood, Ohio, with the Lake Erie Monsters outside of Cleveland, did you not just leave your tree up 365 days a year?
Not
did,
many
right?
people would be privy to that information, but I would say it was more of an ease of storage, a convenience of storage situation. Yes, it was also very small, so it was an unassuming tree. But yes, I did at that point in time leave the Christmas tree up every day of the year. And it had stuff on it too. It was like already decorated, ready to go. You just had to, I think you just had to flip the lights on, if I even had lights on it. I even moved it a couple of times without disassembling it. I just put a trash bag around it, and the stuff that was on it just stayed in place.
No one has ever seen Saint Nick and Doug Plegens in the same room. I'm just saying. But Doug, we brought you on. We want to talk a little Panthers. It's been an up and down season for you guys. I mean, Panthers been playing a lot of hockey the last couple of years. Obviously, injuries a huge storyline. But after a couple of wins before you come out west, what's kind of the state of the union with the Panthers right now in a very competitive Eastern Conference?
Well, I think you can look at it from 35,000 feet, and you can look at it right in the here and now. Just taking the overarching view for this team at this point in time, no Matthew Tkachuk, no Alexander Barkov, no Dmitry Kulikov, no Tomas Nosek, no Jonah Gadjevich. Those were all guys that were every night players during the run to the Stanley Cup last year, their second straight cup. And then Cole Schwindt, who didn't start the season as a regular with the Panthers, but played his way into being a regular with the Panthers. And then he went down for the better part of a few months. So they've been dealing with not just injuries, but some long-term injuries. Now you hope that originally the timetable on Matthew Tkachuk, Bill Zito said during training camp, was December-ish. So hopefully still very much in wait and see mode, but hopefully he could get back in full working order sooner rather than later. And hopefully this team can get healthier as things go along. But it also speaks to just the job that Paul Maurice has been able to do, he and his staff, and the depth that's been assembled here by Bill Zito and his staff, because there are a lot of teams out there. It'd be tough to handle losing that quality and quantity of players in a short period of time. And here they are with an above 500 record going into this road trip, which is no walk in the park. Utah, Colorado, Dallas, and Tampa. That's a big test, these 4 games the Panthers have coming up on this trip. But looking at it from the here and now, a couple of nice wins over the weekend. Most recently, that one over the New York Islanders to close out their 6-game homestand back on Sunday. And I think when you look at this team coming off the playoff runs that most of these guys have been on, multiple long playoff runs, there's really nothing that you can throw at these guys that they haven't seen. They're really as battle tested and as equipped to handle any kind of adversity that might come their way. And even when they had a few games on that homestand that didn't go their way, some close ones that got away from them, things like that, you never saw any kind of a panic in the group. And I think that's just kind of a trait that's been built up over time is that these guys are battle tested. They know what to expect, and should they hit a little bit of a roadblock or something like that, they know how to work through it. So it's been lately. You look at some of the success stories. Carter Verhaeghe is one of the 3 stars of the week in the National Hockey League. He's been on fire lately. The Panthers up and down the lineup, though, getting lots of contributions. And of course, Brad Marchand's been a point of game guy. Sam Reinhart's been a point of game guy from the outset. And they just continue doing what they do, kind of driving the boat offensively. But overall, this team's managed to deal with some, like I said, some personnel losses and done a pretty good job of it.
Doug, with every team in the NHL playing every other day, and when they're not playing every other day, they're playing back-to-backs. Florida Panthers, 2 days off between games, Sunday at home to Wednesday in Salt Lake, and we're glad to have all of you here in Utah experiencing the greatest snow on earth up in Park City.
Yeah, the Panthers managed to break away and have a little bit of time in Park City, and everybody really enjoyed it. And after the Panthers practiced, had a chance to talk to Seth Jones about it and Paul Maurice about it, and it's just everybody enjoyed this little bit of a break in the schedule and a chance to just do some team bonding, if you will. And this is something over the years that the Panthers have done somewhat routinely. Last year, it didn't happen last year because the Panthers had a trip to Finland in there and things like that, and with the 4 nations and the schedule. I mean, I'm not the one going in there planning, but I'm just guessing that that was kind of, probably made things a little bit difficult as far as the planning went last year. But they still they went to Finland and they were there for a long time. That's a good little getaway trip as well. But they've done we've been to Vail in years past. We've been to Jackson Hole in years past, and anytime that there's a chance to get an extra day on the road or something like that in a location that's geographically convenient enough to where we're going next, it's something that the team has liked to do. And just in speaking to the players, the coaches, everybody likes to be able to get that opportunity to kind of see a different set of surroundings and just enjoy that camaraderie and that bonding time, if you will. So, hey, I can tell you right now, Park City's been beautiful. I'd only been here one time. Adrian and I had lunch out here one time, and it was the middle of the summer, if I recall. So it wasn't quite the winter wonderland that we're getting right now here in Park City. But it's been a really, really fun time and a great place to see, and absolutely love it here.
Well, you obviously spent time in Boise as the voice of the Steelheads, and then up to the shores of Lake Erie and now South Beach, right? But when you come back to the West, does it take you back a little bit to your roots?
Absolutely. I love coming out here, and you get reacquainted with the Rocky Mountain air and the elevation, the altitude, everything like that. But I do love this part of the country. There's no question about it. And I like to, I don't know about everybody else, but I do like to go to the cold weather place. I grew up in a cold weather climate. I'm from Michigan, and I got to make sure that, when we get on the road, I like to go out and walk around. Yeah, you said it right there, right about there.
Oh,
I
nice.
like to make sure that I still got it, that I can still handle it, that I can still go out and walk around in the snow, that I can take the cold, that I can take the wind, things like that. Because weather-wise, we are spoiled a bit down in South Florida as far as our fall and winter temperatures are concerned.
Doug, thanks for joining us to give us the insight on the Florida Panthers, and excited to hear that you all chose Utah for a couple of days in between games, and a busy stretch and a busy first half of the year. Everybody's envious of the teams that win Stanley Cups: Florida, Tampa Bay, Vegas, Colorado. And I go back to 3 years ago. The Florida Panthers are right around 500 in January-ish. And it's their first year with Matthew Tkachuk and the first year with Paul Maurice. And the year before, they were the President's Cup champions, winning that trophy, best record in the NHL. And then, they make the deal for Tkachuk, and Paul Maurice comes on board. And, first half of the year was 500, and then things flipped. So on behalf of every team in the NHL, mainly us with the Mammoth, that's, envious of these Stanley Cup championship teams, what flipped the switch in the middle of the season with a new coach and a new I call him one of your captains. He's Alexander Barkov is the true C, but a leader and a character guy like Matthew Tkachuk coming there in that huge blockbuster trade.
I think there are a number of different factors, and if you look back to obviously the year before Paul Maurice came in, they scored a ton of goals, but then they got into a second round playoff series against Tampa Bay, and the Lightning, for the most part, just stifled the Panthers defensively, and it was Tampa Bay who wound up moving on that year. Uh, and then the offseason, Paul Maurice came in, as you mentioned, and the huge trade for Matthew Tkachuk took place, and it really did kind of change the DNA of the team, if you will. And for Paul Maurice, it was it's been amazing to see the systems take hold, and the total buy-in, top to bottom. They wanted to play playoff style hockey from the get go, and to be able to just kind of change the DNA like that, it did take a little bit of time in the beginning, but if you look from about January 1st on during Paul Maurice's first year, a lot of people look back to that season and, I understand the logic, but a lot of people look at it and they talk about it as if the Panthers just got hot at the end of the year and managed to grab a playoff spot. But if you look at the full sample size from about New Year's Day on. So you're talking, I think it was probably close to 40 games. If you ran it out in comparison to the other teams in the Eastern Conference that year, some of the other, contending teams in the Eastern Conference that year. I remember the Panthers' points in the last 35 or so games that year were right in line with Toronto, right in line with Carolina. So it wasn't as if it was just a miracle last 2-3 weeks of the season and they got hot and got the playoffs. It was kind of something that took hold in the middle of the year, and they were right there with the contenders the rest of the way. And then they got into the playoffs, and it was I think it was really the late part of the season, but into the playoffs especially, a real belief set in. Like the whole the whole approach just took hold, and you saw, Paul Maurice's game plans and structures and everything like that. The systems all really took hold, and Matthew Tkachuk and really a lot of the Panthers had great postseason runs. I mean, everybody has to if you're going to get that far. But Matthew came in, and obviously he plays with such an emotional edge and a physical edge to go along with it. But he's a great vocal leader type of guy, really complemented the leadership group that was already in place. And again, it's just again, a product of so many different things, whether it's Paul Maurice's system taking hold that year, and it's really just been locked in since, or Bill Zito and what he's continued to do to make sure the roster has guys that fit the system perfectly. You look back over time, and there have been a lot of guys who've come to the Panthers and maybe in like change of scenery kind of situations, come to the Panthers and seen their games rise to different heights, and that's continued on into the present. So yeah, just a really long-winded response there, but it all goes back to that first year and a system that took hold and a belief that set in, and then just continuing to realize what things need to look. Paul Maurice has said it from his first year. He's always really big on, even if they don't win a game, what their game needs to look like. If they play well, the game looks the way it's supposed to. They come up short. Sometimes that happens, but you want to make sure that your game looks the way that you want it to every single night. And that's been something he's always been really big on.
Couple of big trades last year. You bring in guys like Brad Marchand and Seth Jones. I'm curious, what have you thought of those guys now that they're in their first full year as a Panther? Are they true Florida Panthers by this point? I mean, they got to that point last year by the way they played through the postseason, but it's still weird seeing 63 wearing red for Florida. But how have those guys been? I know Marchie's leading the team in scoring, but besides the numbers, what have you thought of those two specifically?
Yeah, a couple things, and you mentioned there. We'll start with Brad Marchand, but to me, I mean, he's a surefire future Hall of Famer for one. But he comes in here and it's a really interesting scenario because at the time came from one side to the other of what might have been one of the nastiest, angriest rivalries in the NHL for the better part of a couple of years, the Panthers and the Bruins and those playoff series that they had and everything like that, and he came right in with the Panthers, and I remember he was injured when the trade was made, so he didn't make his debut immediately. And I remember talking to Paul Maurice the day after the deadline because that deal went down right in the final minutes of the deadline day. And Paul Maurice said he felt like he already had a little bit of Florida Panther in him. And he came in, and to say he fit like a glove was an understatement, but he came in, he's an unbelievable attitude. He's one of those guys, and I know now Panthers fans and before that Bruins fans were able to experience it firsthand. But for the other 30 fan bases in the league, I'm sure the way he plays naturally, he's probably gotten under your skin at some point in time. But when you get around this guy and you see him every single day, he's a special player, and he's a special guy, and he's somebody that just brought just a great presence to the team. And I asked Evan Rodriguez about him not too long ago, right after Brad hit the 1,000-point mark, which he did this season. And one of the things Evan mentioned about Brad as a teammate is you just see how much he appreciates every single day in the National Hockey League, and that rubs off on everybody. It's infectious. It's important to have a guy like that here, and on the ice formed a great forward line with Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen, throughout that playoff run. And into this season, they were having some success at the start of the year. And Brad said it, I think the quote he used, he said, it's just three good looking guys out there having fun or something like that is something, it was close to that, not direct quote, but it was something very close to that, what he said about the success they've been having. Those lines have been altered a little bit lately just because of some players going in and out of the lineup, but he's come in and fit perfectly. And then to get the production on top of it has been huge for a team that's been without some of its big offensive horses. With Seth, on the other hand, to make that deal, to get a right shot defenseman with term for one, with that kind of ability, that's a rare situation. That's something Bill Zito's been so good at over time is, when you have guys, unique skill set type of players that come available, realizing these guys don't come available very often, and he goes out and gets them, whether it is somebody like Matthew Tkachuk we talked about or a guy like Seth Jones. And you can look at all the fine print in the deal and everything like that. And it was a great trade for the Panthers. And he was hugely instrumental in the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup last year. I'm massive. And the minutes that he can eat up, and you get a true appreciation seeing Seth play every single day. And just in practice, it takes him like 3 strides to go from one end of the ice to the other. He's just incredibly. I mean, he's for one, he's tall. He can move up and down the ice in a hurry, but he's just a graceful skater out there, and he can put the puck in the net. He can play all 3 zones. He's an all situations guy, and a guy who's going to be here a long term. And one of those trades that in the long term could end up really working well for both sides. The Panthers were able to get a Stanley Cup immediately after making that trade. So, and Seth was a massive part of it. So. Again, 2 guys that have come in and been outstanding on the ice, but great guys off the ice. I can't say enough about either one of them, the quality of individuals they are off the ice.
Same with us and you, Doug, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I got one more. I got one more, Doug. And
go ahead, Mike.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here. I know you and Adrian go way back here. And so I want to know, are there any Adrian stories that you can feed us or anything that you can relay to us from Adrian's earlier days with the Grizzlies?
The days with he was the opposing broadcaster my first game in pro hockey in Idaho. I won it October 18th, 2008. We met in the press room dining in Idaho. Don't really remember what we had, but that was where we met. And the Grizzlies won that game in a shootout that night. 3-2 was the final score. So that was when I met him. That was day one. I'm trying to think of if there's another anecdote that
there's so many moments.
I will say this: he's always loved any opportunity to show you around. He's proud of Utah. He enjoys Utah, and if there's an opportunity to show you around, I remember one time I went down for a visit. And I was crashed on the couch out in the living room, and he walks out in the morning. He goes, "You want to go for a ride on a tram?" And I said, sure. We went to Snowbird, Adrian, and July, and we went up to like 12,000 feet, and there was actually snow up there in July, and that just was a mind-boggling experience for me. But yeah, he's always been proud of Utah, so and proud to show everybody the surroundings. We hiked up. What did we walked up one of those mountains over there?
Neff's Canyon is the hike we
Okay.
did. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the little hidden canyon in the middle of Olympus Cove. It's kind of unknown, unmarked, but if you know, you know, right, Doug?
Yeah, I know now. We made it up there. We made it back. But yeah, it's he's always enjoyed showing me or anybody else around the great surroundings that you all have here in Utah.
We're very lucky here in Utah for those surroundings, but lucky we have Adrian to guide us as well. But AD, anything else for Doug? We appreciate the time, Doug. You've been so gracious with your time, but don't want to take up too much more of your afternoon here.
Yeah, find us tonight, Doug. We'll make sure your dinner's taken care of at the Delta Center for your pregame meal.
Oh yes, I remember last year I had a great dining experience. I was trying to remember what I had. I just remember it was good. I can't really remember.
You had Costa Vida, I think.
I had Costa Vida. That's what I had. I had Costa Vida. That's still there in the arena, same location.
Sure
all right.
is.
Well, sign me up for another one.
Had it twice last week.
Well, Doug,
that'll be it. Now I'm excited. Really excited now. Okay.
We appreciate you. Last time Panthers were in Utah, it was a national TV game. Not the case this time. We won't have rally towels for you, but we will have a ton of fun tonight with Utah and the champs in town. Doug, thank you very much, man.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Another thank you to Doug Pleans. Great set of pipes on him, but a great play-by-play man, great guy as well. Voice of the Florida Panthers on the radio with Billy Lindsay, and they're fun to listen to, and Doug's had some awesome moments to call, and he's risen to the moment each time for the Panthers and their fans last couple of years. But AD, you mentioned earlier a players-only meeting. Rod has commandeered Mammoth Daily.
We've got Rod. He's a friend of the program. He listens Monday through Friday. He's been with us since day one, and he put out a thread. I've never done this on Twitter before, Mike. Have you ever put out a thread with the spool and done 4 or 5 tweets in a row? Because I haven't.
I don't have as much to say as Rod does, apparently, but this is a whole diatribe I'm looking at on screen. What does Rod get into? Are you going to read it, AD?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it, but
okay.
Yeah, let's get into it. From Rod Anderson, one of our favorites. We see him at the Delta Center. Hockey fan since the very beginning. Calgary Flames fan going back. All right, here is Rod, because we thought, all right, we've done all we can here. Players only meeting. You guys figure it out. Here he is. He says, before getting discouraged on the Utah Mammoth, here are a few things. He submitted this Monday morning. He says they're currently sitting in wildcard spot number 2, although 2 teams have games in hand that are behind him. He says after the New York trip in early January, 24 of Utah's last 39 games are at home, over 60% for basically the last half of the season. The math supports Utah in the playoffs. He says, I doubt 88 will do it, maybe not 91 either, but it will likely take less than 96 that it took last year. That's interesting, Mike, because we were talking about that with our broadcast team and folks at practice today. Basically, they're right there. It would also mean another year of higher points under Bear, which he has done every year. They've already played 6 of their 11 back-to-backs. They have 5 for the rest of the season, while they will face opponents that are on a back-to-back 10 times. The team is currently on track for 84 points, but what if you took into account the home and away games? The math supports Utah in the playoffs. I doubt 88 will do it. Maybe not 91 either. I've read this before, but you get the point from Rod on his great thread that he submitted. And we thought, this makes sense. This is a great third period. I like Rod, Mike, and here's why I like Rod. He'd be a great next door neighbor. He'd be a great HOA president. You know, if you're mowing your lawn, if you're putting your garbage out and it's not overflown if you stop doing your fireworks at 10 p.m. at night, you're going to have no problems with Rod. Rod's going to be a great neighbor, okay? He's going to be a great HOA president. He's going to look out for the neighborhood. But Mike, you put the garbage out 2 days early. If you have a lot of people coming and going from your house, we know those houses, Mike. You might have Rod at the front door, with a one-way conversation, as we've been saying a lot on this podcast. So Rod fights the good fight. And if you're in line, you're not going to have a problem with Rod. If you step out of line, you might be hearing from Rod, and you might not like it. And Rod might be the next door neighbor that you don't like, and you say it's a jerk, but he's just looking out for the neighborhood, Mike. He's a good man.
Rod on neighborhood watch. Anytime you come out there on Twitter or in the public arena with this much factual information, numbers behind this, looking into the schedule, things like that. Anytime you do that, it's going to catch our eye. So great job, Rod. He introduced himself to me at in Park City at our dev camp earlier in summer. Yeah, I love it when he stops by. It's interesting. He mentions that Utah on pace for 88, but he wanted to factor in the home and away games. I attempted to do this yesterday or the other day. This was before the LA game, and I extrapolated Utah's home points percentage over their remaining home games and their road points percentage over the remaining road games, if that makes sense. And so the number I got to was like 91-ish for Utah if you do the math. But yeah, I mean, that's what we've been saying is like this tough schedule is going to come back and help Utah in the back half where you want those home games. And they're not just home games that are coming up in March and April. Look at how many of those are Western Conference games or divisional games as well. I believe it's St. Louis, the last game of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a whole bunch of divisional games that are all going to be meaningful, assuming Utah is still in that playoff race like we expect them to be.
Yeah, so great stuff from Rod, and he echoed it in his final tweet that we didn't have up there that said 15 points in 11 games. That projects for 56 home points. 16 points in 19 away games projects for 35 points. That puts Utah at 91 points.
Oh, look at that.
Eighth best winning percentage in the NHL on Monday was Chicago at 536 with equal home and away games, which projects to 88 points. So there's some numbers from Rod. If you get sick of listening to me and Mike, which we hope you don't, but we understand. Nick Olczyk's talked about it, listening to Mammoth Daily, banging on the steering wheel. So we thought we'd turn it over to the players for a players-only meeting, a listeners-only meeting today on our third period of Mammoth Daily.
Way to take charge, Rod. Way to take charge. That's great.
Fighting the good fight. But Mike, if you don't take your Christmas lights down by January 7th, Rod's at the front door, and he's got to talk to your dad.
The Christmas tree cannot be on the curb for more than a week.
You got to put it in your truck, and you got to take it down to the park where they're collecting Christmas trees. You can't just put it out and hope that the garbage truck's going to take it for the third week in a row. Doesn't work in this neighborhood.
We side with Rod, and it's good to have somebody with some sense chime in here. So thanks, Rod, and anybody else who has a good thread or a good thoughts, leave us a video submission. Leave us a note like that in the comments. We've been getting a ton of great comments. We talk about them on the radio as well. So tune into the Hockey Night in Utah radio show on the NHL app or on the KSL app or 97.5, 1280 AM. Because we get to a lot of comments on Hockey Night in Utah, and we will again tonight.
Stop by and see us, Mike. We have no idea what we're gonna do for the Friday free for all, but if you stop by and see us tonight at Section 6-7, you just might make it on the Friday free for all. We'll have the mics ready to go. Come by and see us. We're working on our Friday free for all. If you have any ideas, bring them tonight. Come see me and Mike. We can't wait to see y'all. Mammoth and the Florida Panthers tonight at 7.
And one more thing before we buzz out. Want to see as many people as we can. Apologies if we're not at the broadcast station when you walk in. Typically, I get down there at like 5, but then I go talk to the other broadcasters and things like that. And Adrian goes on right at 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game, and he's usually up in the studio until then. So we apologize if people have come and we've missed you. It's not our intention. We're just trying to do what we get paid to do. But anytime we don't have our headsets on, we're happy to have a conversation and get your take on the team. So we'll see everybody tonight at the Delta Center. Great episode, AD. And thanks again to Doug Pleans for jumping on with us. But we got the champs in town. Big one for the Utah Mammoth, second of a 3-game homestand. We'll see everybody tonight downtown Salt Lake City.